How's it going, everybody? It's Matt again. Today we're going to take a look at another one of Mechanical Skull Studios Legend Scale Armada figures. This is going to be, what is it, MSS-02R Abominator, or it's going to be their, what is it, like the Unicron Trilogy Universe version of Ramjet. It's interesting that this one came out like the R version because I believe the Thundercracker, or not Thundercracker, the Skywarp version of this was supposed to come out first, but I guess in their release schedule, this one just kind of ended up coming out first for some reason. But anyways, it is the kind of Armada style Ramjet. We did already get the Starscream. I reviewed that. I absolutely loved that figure. That was probably one of the better figures of last year, I want to say. In my opinion, at least the ones that I had bought. But yeah, so here it is from the front of the box. Here it is from the side and from the back, other side, top, bottom, all that good stuff. It is a box. But he's also going to come with his set of instructions. They are decent enough instructions. There we are, kind of CAD renders. Nothing too crazy. He's going to come with a boatload of accessories. He's going to come with 3 different swords. So we have this one, which is kind of like the clear red version of the sword that's just extended. It's all one piece. We have the painted version of the all one piece of the wing sword. And then we have this version, which does fit on the jet and on the bot mode, which will unfold kind of like the classic version of it, like in the cartoon. But this part can pivot in and out, the little handle, because that's how it's going to attach onto the jet, and then it can pivot out on these 2 parts, kind of replicating that gimmick to make the sword. But I will fold that back up because I'll show how that goes on to the actual jet. But he's also going to come with just an absolute boatload of hands. Just a ton of different hands. We've got kind of like these splayed out, kind of expressive hands. We have larger holding hands for something. I don't know what these would even be for, but we do have those. We have regular fists. I believe he has 2 sets of fists, actually, because there's a set of fists that's already on him, and then there's these ones. And then, of course, we have just kind of the regular holding hands for the swords. So, yeah, lots of hands. He is going to come with his new Minicon, much like the other one that came with Starscream. This one does not actually transform. It is just kind of all kind of like just a painted thing. These parts do fold up so that you can peg this onto his arm as like a blaster, so you can do that. But it is just his little Minicon buddy, just in his jet mode. But here he is. Here he is in his jet mode, and he looks pretty good. Very red, white, and blue, very American looking. He's very, very bright colored, but he looks pretty good. All of this silver is nice and painted on, very like candy-ish red and yellow on him. But yeah, he cleans up decent. He has these little landing gear, which you can fold up here on the front, and you can fold these ones up here on the back, so you can close that up. He does have a post right here if you wanted to put him on a flight stand. I don't have a flight stand to actually put him on, but you can do that if you wanted him to be in a flight pose. His sword part here you can replace, so you're just going to want to kind of, I believe it lifts kind of off of this panel here, and you can just pull it off like this, and then you can just replace it with the other one. If you want the fold-out wing, you can have that. Pretty cool. His Minicon buddy, you can just kind of fold up the wings here, and then it will tab in right there on the back of the jet, like so. So you can have that, and of course you can flip out the big cannons to the front if you want to when he's in his jet mode. But let's go ahead and transform him here. I'm going to swap that for the other wing, for the other version, so we can take a look. So let's transform him. So first what we're going to want to do is untab the arms from here. Just kind of bring them down and around. We're just going to rotate at that silver part so the arms are facing the right direction. Open up this panel and then flip out his hands and close them back up. Same thing, bring this down, flip this around, open up this panel, get his hands out and close it back up. And then over here, you're going to want to untab this section, and then I believe, so we're going to untab this section here, split these two parts apart, and kind of lift them out of these two grooves here, or the little feet, and you're going to extend the legs. I did forget to do this section here. Lift up this red part, this blue part here, you're going to lift up, rotate it around on that ball joint, push it back in, and close that red part back on it. And then this is just going to flip around like this, and then this panel will close into the back of the leg. And then the foot will flip forwards, and using this little pull tab here, you'll lift up the heel, just kind of press it back into the foot like that, and just kind of rotate it in the right orientation. Same here, lift out, panel comes down, rotate this thing around to the front, push it back, bring the knee down, put that panel back, lift the foot up, open the heel, put that back, and rotate it around. And then this section back here, we're just going to lift it up off of this part here. And then the head, it's kind of like you can push up on that, but you can also use the antenna. Go ahead and just pull it up so that it's kind of filling in this lower section here. And then you can bring up this part and just kind of rotate this forward and tab it in like this, and then bring this silver waist section down like that. And then the front part of the nose cone of the jet will just come down and just tab in right along here, right like that. And then his wings here just push down so they can come untabbed from that, kind of come down to the side. And then this back panel here, you actually want to lift it up off of here and close these panels together and then flip this down like so, right? Yeah, just like so, and just kind of rests like that. And then you can either leave the cannons up here, kind of like in the toy accurate version, or you can actually flip them down on these tabs. Those tabs will come undone. You can flip them down on those swivels, and then you can sit them on his back like that. And then there he is. There is Armada Ramjet, and he looks good. I like the Starscream, so he's very similar in looks to him, just with little differences here on the knees and on the sides of the cockpit here on the jet, and of course the head. But otherwise, he's basically just the Starscream mold. But it looks good. It's getting close on the face. One thing that I never really liked the design of the face on Ramjet. It just looked kind of dumb to me, at least on the Armada version rather. But there it is. It's accurate to the comic book, so whatever. But yeah. Now you can still plug all of his, like the Minicon and everything onto him. You can still lift this up and plug it into the back if you want to. You can plug it into the back of his arm. If you turn it around like this, there's this little tab that can come down like that. And then you can plug it into the back of his arm if you wanted to do his kind of thing that I guess he did in the comic. I don't know. Never read the comic, to be honest. So you can utilize his Minicon. You can, of course, swap out his hands. It is easier to open up the panel, and then you can pull the fist down and replace it with pretty much any of the hands if you want. Just put them back up and then close them back down. And then, of course, he can hold any of his weapons if you so desire. So let's go over articulation. The head is just on a ball joint, but he has a lot of expression from it because it's kind of higher up on the neck, so side to side quite a lot, back like all the way forwards a little bit, so pretty good. He has a little butterfly joint here in the torso, so you can put his arms like way forwards across, They can go up about 90 degrees on that joint, and then there's a separate joint actually in the shoulder armor, so you can get his arm all the way up, which is pretty darn good. You can, of course, rotate his arms all the way around, but they're going to butt with the wings. Speaking of the wings, they are on a ball joint, so you can take them in and out and up and around and all that good stuff. His arms in the bicep have a swivel, so you can rotate those all the way around. And he does have a single jointed elbow, but it only gets you about 90 degrees. And then there is another rotational joint below the elbow, so you can do it around like the forearm. And then there's a ball jointed wrist. Before I forget, his back here, of course, these can go up and down on these little kind of rockers here. And you can, of course, pull out the cannons for his cannon gimmick. You can do that on another side. His waist down here, he does have a waist swivel, but it's completely limited by this jet cockpit. If you kind of lift it up a little bit, you can rotate his legs around a little bit, but just because of this cockpit section here, he can't actually rotate his waist around. But it's not really the fault of the toy itself. It's just the design. There are ball jointed hips, so you can get pretty far forwards, pretty much all the way back if the cannons aren't in the way, and you can get out all the way. Rotates at the thigh, 360 degrees. There's a double jointed knee, which will easily get you 180 degrees. And he does have a ball jointed foot for the rocks and the forwards and the backs and all that good stuff. So yeah, fairly articulated figure. It's just missing a little bit in the waist section, but it's not really the fault of the designers. It's just kind of the design of the figure itself is trying to replicate. But yeah, so let me get him cleaned up and we will take a look at some size comparisons. All right, so I don't really have too many things that make sense to show him with just because of my current living situation. Everything's kind of in storage. So I just have a couple of figures here I'll show just so you can see the size. Here he is with one of New Age's Carbots. There's their Barricade. And how about one of New Age's Constructicons with Bone Crusher. And then how about Magic Square's Optimus. So yeah, he's a little bit bigger of a Legends figure, but he's decent size. He's shorter than Optimus, so yeah. And of course, you know I have to show him next to the original. There is the first release. There's their Starscream. So it looks good with him. All right, and that's going to do it for Mechanical Skull Studios MSS, or is it MSS? Yeah, MSS-02R Abominator, or their kind of Armada or Unicron Trilogy version of Ramjet. And he's a damn good figure too. Just like, you know, their Starscream, that was a really good figure. This is based off of that mold, so it's of course going to carry all the good traits. So yeah, it's a pretty good figure. Lots of good hand options, some decent accessories. It does have one thing that I wish that, you know, the other one had too. I wish that you could use both swords, like take both wings off and make them each into swords, but it's fine. It's a very minor little thing. But what is painted on him is nice. The design itself, the sculpt work is really good. Accessories are great. Articulation's really good. He's just a little limited in the waist, but I mean, it's just kind of the design, so it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, so he's a pretty good figure. Solid recommend for me. I'm kind of looking forward to the other ones, or looking forward to any new molds rather that Mechanical Skull Studio releases, because obviously we've only had the one from them so far. But I know that they've announced I think they announced a Demolisher recently, so that'll be interesting when that comes out. But yeah, so solid recommend from me. If you liked the video, please consider, leaving a like or a comment or subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me, in other ways, you can support me on YouTube with a membership, or you can check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description. That is, of course, more for my 3D printing and for my Armored Core stuff, but it is probably the best way to support me, so please go check it out. But thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.